Hi there, my name is Miss Townsend and I love math. Welcome to Math with Townsend. This is video number 7 of a series of videos in which I show you the solutions to the questions from the practice package. Again, that practice package was given to you in class, and most of the questions contained in it are from the June 2011 EQAO. So let's see where we are. Question 39. So again, this is not a multiple choice, it's a full solution question. And when you answer these questions, be careful about your communication, try to be organized, try to be a little bit more neat than otherwise, and just make sure you're fully reading and therefore fully answering the question asked. So 39 says hit the slopes. Consider the two relationships represented below. So relation 1 is given to me in equation form, and relation 2 is a graph. Determine the slope of the line representing each relation. Show your work. And which of these lines is represented by the steeper slope. So if I'm given an equation and I want to find the slope, I'm going to rearrange it. So if I have 5x minus 2y equals 4, let's rearrange. So when we rearrange to find the slope, we need to isolate the y term. So the y term is negative 2y. So therefore, I still have negative 2y, but the 5x had to move. So now it's negative 5x. The 4 was always 4. I didn't move it. It's still on the right side. So now that I've isolated the y term, now I need to isolate y. So what's happening to y is a multiplication by negative 2. So therefore, I'm going to be dividing everything by negative 2. So what does that give me? It gives me a slope of 5 over 2. And then there's my y-intercept. So relationship A has a slope of 5 over 2. So now let's find the slope of relationship 2. So here I'm going to do it right on the graph, and I'm going to show my work by clearly indicating the points that I'm using. And then I'm also going to use my ruler, and I'm actually going to draw the rise and run triangle. So from here to here I rose 2, and from here to here I ran 3. So therefore this is a rise of 2 and a run of 3, so the slope is 2 over 3. Now, which of these relationships is represented by a steeper slope? So there's a couple ways you could do it. So let's compare 5 over 2 and 2 over 3. Well, it's very, very hard to compare fractions if you don't have a common denominator. So let's make common denominators. So let's see what happens if we make both of them into fractions over 6. So here I'm multiplied by 3, so that's 15 over 6. Here I'm multiplied by 2, so that's 4 over 6. So now I can actually compare the slopes. I can say that for the same run, so in this case a run of 6 and a run of 6. So for the same run, this relationship goes up, rises a lot more than this relationship. So for example, if this is 6, this relationship rises 15, whereas this relationship rises only 4. So clearly, this one is steeper because it has a greater rise for the same run. So do you see why we got a common denominator there? And it was so that we could compare nicely. You don't compare apples and oranges, you compare bananas with bananas or whatever. There's some quote. Now, you didn't have to make the denominator into 6. I'll show you what a lot of people do. What a lot of people do is they actually turn both these into decimals. Because if you turn that into a decimal, what you're really doing is you're making the denominator 1. And it's the same logic, though. For a run of 1, this slope rises a lot more than this slope. So maybe you liked it where we got denominator 6. That's great. And maybe you prefer just to take out your calculator and turn them into decimals, as long as you can justify why the answer is here. And again, my solution would say, because for the same run, this one has a greater rise. Question 40. Jake builds an ice rink as shown below. Determine the perimeter. So perimeter is distance around an object. So here's the distance around. So if you were to walk around this object, you would go like this, 25. Oops, ignore that. That's not perimeter. You would go 25 plus whatever this is. I'll leave a blank. Plus 25 plus whatever this is, and again, I'll leave a blank. So if I could figure out what those blanks are, I can tell you the perimeter pretty quickly. So obviously this is a half circle, and that circle has diameter 10. This is the other half of the circle. So whatever answer I get for this, I'll just use it for here. So the circumference of a circle is equal to pi times diameter, but I only have half a circle. So pi times diameter divided by 2 gives me 15.7. So this is 15.7, and therefore this is also 15.7. So therefore, this is how I'm going to find perimeter. You'll notice at no point am I adding 10 because I never walk across this direction. So I don't go 10 meters ever. I go 25, 15.7, 25, 15.7. So altogether I get 81.4 meters for the perimeter. Hopefully a fairly straightforward question. Ezra works part-time at a clothing store. He earns $80 per week plus 6% of the value of his weekly sales. This week, Ezra earns $119. What is the total value of his sales? So Ezra earns $80 plus 6% of sales. So Ezra earns $80 plus, here's what 6% of sales, and I'm going to let D equal dollar amount, because I don't like using S, dollar amount of sales. So again, I want to make sure that I'm communicating. So I'm telling whoever reads this that D is the dollar amount of sales. And maybe I should say that E equals earnings. Okay, so if we want $119 in earnings, then what should the sales amount be? So I'm left with one unknown. So I'm going to subtract 80 from both sides and then divide by 0.06. And what do I get? So 39 divided by 0.06 is 650. So if Ezra wants to earn $119, he needs to do $650 in sales. So make sure you write some sort of nice sentence about Ezra. Okay, Shazam. Craven designs a lightning bolt using 2 quadrilaterals and 1 triangle as shown. We need to find what X and Y are, and we need to complete the table. So don't forget, just because it's X and then Y doesn't mean you have to find them in that order. It's up to you. So here's X. So X is external to the triangle at the bottom end of the Shazam lightning bolt. So again, here's X. Now what you'll notice is X is on a straight line. And if I could figure out this angle, let's call it Z. If I could figure out Z, then I could say that Z plus X equals 180. So Z is part of a triangle, and it's the third angle. So I know that 25 plus 68 plus z equals 180. How do I know that? Triangle rule, or triangle sum rule. And therefore, what does z equal? So do the math, and what do you get? So I get 87 degrees for z. And then I can say, oh, I just realized I'm writing my answers under y. I'll fix that in a second. Then I can say that x plus z equals 180. And how do I know that? I know that because it's a straight line. Or you could use the fancy word, which is supplementary. Ooh, fancy. And therefore, I know that x plus 87 equals 180. So x is 93 degrees. So all of this is my justification for x. So let's see if I can move it up without too much pain. That's all right. Except for this came with it. Oh well. So that's how you find x. And I've justified it. Again, you don't have to justify it really, really formally, but you do have to kind of explain what you're doing. And the idea of identifying unknown but important angles with new letters is a great idea, because then I can say, I found z, it's 87, I use the triangle rule. Then I know that x plus z must be 180, and so that's how I got x. So let's look at y, and I'll use blue. Y is part of a four-sided shape. Therefore, I know that the sum of the angles is 360. So 66 plus y plus 72 plus y equals 360. And that's because of the quadrilateral angle sum rule, or something like that. And that's the only justification I need to be able to find y. So 66 plus 72 is 148 plus 2y equals 360. So 2y equals 222. So y equals 111 degrees. So there's my answer. Justification, answer. And I think that's it. So we've been through every question given on the June 2011 EQAO. You'll notice, by the way, if you're looking at the online version, some of the questions did not appear here, and that's simply because we did them quite recently in class, so I just didn't include them in this package because it'd be redundant. We had just done them. But I hope this is useful to you, and if you have any questions or if there's other problems you want me to take up, please make sure you post. Happy studying.